For peace of mind in retirement, you need to make a plan for anything and everything that could go wrong. I know, a lot of you are probably saying, Duane, that's impossible. Yes. To encompass everything in your plan? Yes, that is impossible. But I've got 10 examples here of stuff you may have thought of before and a couple you may not have. So it's best to just plan for anything and everything that can go wrong, and get as many as you can, okay? Here's number one. On a 98-degree day here in the high desert, and I'm sweating bullets, hope it doesn't come out on camera. Not much wind either. Number one, what happens if you had a pension and it goes away? It fails. Your company's pension fails. It has happened before. I think, was it 2005 United Airlines? I think that was it. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. Their pension failed. Now, there is a government entity that protects people from that. But a lot of those people, what they thought they were going to get in their pension, they got a fraction of it. Guys, pensions, just like, certain financial institutions can collapse, banks, whatever. They're not written in stone. For the most part, they're pretty safe, but what happens if one of them collapses? So what do? You have to invest outside your pension. Doesn't mean you have to put everything you have into like the stock market, but make sure you make investments outside of your pension in case the worst happens. You never know. You got to plan for anything and everything. Hey, for those of you watching me for the first time, my name is Duane. This is a channel for retiring on moderate income. If you think you might like that, think about subscribing and like the video as well. Number two, inflation. Especially the last couple of years, it's been pretty bad, right? It's been pretty bad. What do I do to guard against this? In my retirement calculations, which I do a lot on FI Calc, Am I 17 again? FI Calc, which is a free online calculator, I overestimate inflation just to guard against this. I put in historical about 5%, maybe, even though it's been lower than that. You can guard against these things. This is one way to plan against things going wrong in your retirement. Overestimate inflation. Hey, if it gets down to the end and you overestimate it, you got more money, right? That's always good. Number three, what happens if you lose your spouse? Obviously, that happens. It's life, right? The best way to guard against this and plan for this is to do all of your retirement planning together as a couple. So if one spouse dies before the other one should be taken care of. A lot of people, it's amazing, but they don't plan for this. You think they would as a couple, right? You really think they would, but they don't. So guys, make sure you're planning together as a couple in your investing, in your retirement. So if, God forbid, your partner dies well before you do, you'll still be okay. Number four, and this also goes with planning together, divorce. What's the solution I'm planning here besides planning together? Planning together, if you plan your retirement together, the chances of one of the people in the relationship not liking what's going on in retirement is a lot less, right? Did you know that 2 decades ago, 1 out of every 10 people that got divorced were over the age of 50? Last year, this number jumped up to 1 in 4. Over 50 is the highest percentage of people getting divorced out of any age. Now, percentage-wise, it's been trending up while overall divorces have been going down. So here's where I want to ask you for a comment. Now, this may be a little controversial because I've never been married. I don't have kids. Have any of you actually planned for the event that you might get a divorce in your retirement, just in life in general? Leave me some comments. I am so curious to hear about that. I'm just curious to hear if any of you have planned for that. If any of you had put that, hey, I might get divorced at some time, into your plan. I'd love to hear. Number 5, What happens if your elderly parents need your help? You'd think most people would plan for this, but a lot don't. What happens if they need financial help? If they need help just getting around on a daily basis? Let's say you're still working, you know? What happens if you're the lone child left, the only one to take care of them, and you have to retire early to take care of your aging parents or parent? Are you going to be okay? Did you plan for that? The way to plan for that is just, hey, save more than you need. Plan for you retiring, say, 5 years earlier than you plan on retiring financially. You never know, guys. You never know when this happens. I had to take care of my mom after she had a stroke. I wasn't retired yet. You never know. This can throw a huge kink in your retirement plans if you are forced to retire early to care for an aging parent. Plan for it. Plan for you retiring 5, 4, 3 years before you would, in case. Again, this is planning for everything, okay? Am I on 5 or 6? I don't know. You might get to the point where you decide that you own too much home. What happens after all the kids are gone? Maybe you had older kids still living with you right when you're retired, if you retired early. What happens when they're gone and you got a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house? Are you still going to want to live there? You might, but what about the cost of utilities? What about if you're still paying a mortgage, the cost of the mortgage? You might want to take a lot of that equity out and downsize. Plan for that. Plan for that being an option. Okay, hey, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. These are the areas we might think we want to downsize to. Do your research so you know all of this ahead of time, so you're not surprised when one day you're like, you know what, honey, this house is just too darn big for us now. You'll have at least thought about it before, right? Thought about the areas you could go. I think I'm on number 6. I'm not even going to count numbers anymore. I'm just going to list them off. This could be 10, it could be 12. Who knows? You got to plan for stock market ups and downs, the ups and downs of the market. Okay, I hope most of you are planning for this. The easy way to do that, just diversify your portfolio. Diversify as much as you can in your retirement investments. Get some real estate in there. If you're fancy on crypto, if you're one of those wacky crypto guys, get some crypto in there. Me, I'm too conservative for that. But just diversify as much as you can. Stocks, bonds, real estate, dividends, whatever you want to do. Make sure you are properly diversified. God forbid, don't have all your 401k in your company stock, okay? You got to plan for if you have a really down market, because they come along often. The next one. What happens if you just get bored of retirement? Yeah, you could have the best intentions going in. It's like, oh man, retirement, I'm going to love it. I'm going to golf every day. I'm going to fish every weekend. Okay, what happens if you get bored of that 6 months in? Research other things you like to do before you retired. Try out other hobbies. And I know I mentioned this over and over again, but it's very important because this is a huge, dare I say huge, problem for some people. They get bored in retirement because they have nothing to do. Research those hobbies or potential hobbies. Give them a trial run while you're still working, seeing if you can expand that into something bigger when you retire. This is a big one. Long-term care. What happens if you need it? Have you planned for it? Long-term care insurance, that's always a good option. Depending on who you are, that may be something you might think about looking into. I think it's good. If you're planning for everything, it should be something you're looking into, because a lot of people, hey, my mom was totally healthy until the age of 87. She had a stroke. All she was taking was a multivitamin. No meds. She walked 3 miles a day. Boom, that stroke laid her down. She was bedridden. After about 6 months of on her feet, eventually, she slid into being bedridden and dementia. Long-term care insurance, something you might look into. Number 10. Finally to number 10. Is this 12, 11? Maybe it's 15. I don't know. What happens if you run out of money, guys? Some people do in retirement. They haven't planned well enough. So what do? If your target goal is, say, let's $700,000 I want to retire with, why don't you retire with 800? Plan to have a little more than the target you have had for, let's say, 15 years. Okay? A lot of people run out of money. Also, longevity. What happens if you plan on living till 87? You live to 95. When you're doing your plan on living longer than you think you might. Plan on needing more than you think you might. These are good ways to take that all into account. You're planning for everything you can think of. Now, out of those 10, 12, 15 reasons, wherever they were, there are a lot more things you can plan for that I haven't mentioned. So if you can, try and think of everything possible to plan for in retirement. It'll make everything go so much smoother when you run up against these unexpected things that come up. Okay? So from the high desert, guys, with my two buddies behind me guarding my precious succulents, we got this.